Town of Prescott Valley. Work study session, June 17th, 2021. Call to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kinsinger.
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Councilmember Packard.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Polguta.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to jump right in. Item 3A, library improvement presentation by Bill. Welcome, sir. Probably just going to have to pull that mic a little bit closer, that's all.
I will. Got to be able to see first.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're getting there, that's Boo over there in the corner.
Yeah.
He's made an appearance tonight.
He's our little mascot.
All right. We have been working for some time trying to decide exactly how we're going to go about repairing some of the defects in the library building. It's been open about 11 years, and pretty much from the beginning there were issues that started to develop. And initially there was a lot of work with the contractor, with the architect, trying to get things done on warranty and whatnot. But eventually wasn't working, and we ended up going into some litigation with them. It lasted, I believe, about 3 years, maybe a little more than 3 years. But it finally ended with a judicial conference. And in, I believe it was August, we settled on a settlement amount. We've been collecting the funds since then, and I believe we finished that late in February. So we've come up with some solutions for what's going on with this building. The main things that we're looking at are the perforated metal panels on this portion of the building, the plastic panels that are on the college side. They're along their offices, so they'll have that as a part of their office. And then, of course, our black panels that are on the admin building and throughout on the lower level here. So those are the items that we're looking to remediate. Right now, that's about what we're looking at for the building. We have that galvalume, as we said. It's rusting. It is still leaking. Even though we did put a new roof on the building, we weren't able to address the issues of this portion of the building. So earlier this evening, when the people were here, we were looking in the corner, and we can still see the damage, the fact that water still comes in here. So that's one of the main issues we're going after. Our solution on this is going to be a stucco. We're going to come in with the lower portion of the building with the rock. You can see on these samples here. We're thinking of doing the rock up to the first beam, which would take it about 14 feet. That will give us the protection against graffiti, the vandalism, the skateboards. They like to see whether they can break through the black panels or not, which they can. So this is the sample over here that would be for this area. We're looking at like a light sand color for the stucco from that beam on up to the top. We will be able to maintain the observation deck up at the top. We put in a guardrail, like a 42-inch guardrail, and then glass from there up, which will help us seal the top of the walls here, which is part of the issue, is that we have no way of really sealing the very top of the walls, and that's the point where some of the water that problems we have come in there. Then as we come up onto the main entrance over here, you can see a little bit of the black panel on the bottom. There's a little bit of the plastic in there. We are going to go in That'll give you a look at how we have the rock at the base of this center cone. The black panels, everywhere there's black panels on the first floor will be stone veneer. I kind of like, this was an accident. It shows the stone above the entrance, but I think that's a really nice touch on that because that's a main location of the building. So I kind of like to stay with that idea. Then as we look down that breezeway on the college side, you can see all of the plastic walls. The complaints that I've gotten from the professors there is that there's no insulation in those walls. They get a lot of draft, a lot of wind, water intrusion through those, and there's no sound protection. So all the people that hang out in the breezeway, those professors are privy to all of their personal conversations. And they said they have a few students that like to play the drums, and as far as they were concerned, they were sitting in the bass drum when they would tap on that. So we're going to give it a new look and come in with the stone for those areas and clean that up so where they can have private offices. And this stone will give us a much better. By doing that, we can go in, we can insulate the walls, we can drywall on the inside, make it usable space, and one of the issues that we've always had with this building is that the HVAC has to run almost constantly to keep up with the building. The building was built with 65% of the building skin is either glass or that plastic that we have. Code says 50% max. So by eliminating the plastic and being able to insulate those walls, hopefully the equipment that they actually put up on the building is now going to be more capable of handling the building and cooling it and everything else, and we can maybe get a good lifespan out of that equipment instead of running it to death. So as you can see, those black panels, since day one, they've faded. I think we have in this picture at least 3 generations of those black panels. And other than some that the defendants put on that they painted, they're pretty much still fading, still cracking, becoming a safety issue too because they crack so badly it looks like they're ready to fall off the building. So we just have, this is where we'll use more of the rust-colored paint, and it makes for a very dramatic looking building, I think. It's very tailored. Again, we'll use 14-foot is going to be the stone, and from there above is going to be the stucco. This is the back of the building. This is kind of nice because we can get a look at all of the elements at once with this one. You can see on the center, you can see all of the windows on the existing building here are going to be exposed. Right now, the perforated metal goes over about half of the windows. We have no way to maintain those windows. We can't wash them. We can't make sure that the gaskets are in place where they belong and everything without coming in and physically taking all that down. So we're going to expose those, which is also going to give us much more light up in the crystal room and stuff. It'll work very nicely there. Then this is the back side. I guess that would be the, can't remember, but anyway, we'll come in and we do the same there. Now on this wall that comes halfway up with a stone, that's a kind of another statement wall, which would be very nice to just go ahead and take that all the way up, and then all of the stucco that you see in there is where the plastic panels have been. So by removing the plastic panels are 40% of the glass areas. So by closing those in, we're going to really be able to get control and operate our building much more successfully. This is looking down Lakeshore to the west, and it kind of gives us what the look of the building is going to be for the public there. And one of the things I say is we are looking at 3 items on this and taking care of 3 issues that we had. During our negotiations and during the lawsuit that we had going, we had 52 items that needed to be addressed. Some were damages, many were defects. So even though we're going to take care of this, what it's going to do is, if we can get this building to be water and airtight, the systems will work correctly. We'll find the issues we've had with carpet in there. There's always moisture coming up, and we get lumps in the carpet from the calcium that comes up through it. Once we get this control of the outside environment staying outside, then we're going to have a couple of years to let that dry out, and then we can do something about that. We can seal that concrete and come in with new carpet and not have that issue any longer. But this is the first step that allows us to kind of remediate this building and make it what we always wanted it to be in the first place. Then let's see. At about this point, I'm going to call Casey up. So this is another look.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, it's great to be back again.
Welcome, ma'am.
One thing that I thought was interesting when I first got here is the name of the name, a library, is not on the building. That's a standard with libraries throughout the United States. And I thought Isabella Tuning did this for me this afternoon, and she put pretty much what we should have on the side of the building. It's not too big, it's not garish, it's very tasteful, silver lettering on the building that tells the community this is the library. I know we've had many years people will go to the town, where is this the library, because the library changed places, or they'll go to our building and think that we are the town. So I think it's key to have the name of what this building is on the side of it in a nice way. So is the next one on there too?
Yep.
And then just gives you an idea when it's backlit in the evening, that people know, they can even tell in the dark that this is the library. So I want this. Thank you. Is that it, Bill?
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So that's what we have.
All right.
And that's what we're presenting. So if there's any questions that we can answer.
Council, questions for Bill?
I have a question.
Yes.
And maybe this won't apply, but the former town manager's office, the windows there, and the skybox, it gets quite warm in those rooms.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, was this maybe one of the problems that was preventing them from having proper shades, or will there be shading done on those windows to help with to regulate the temperature in those rooms?
I think if we find that it is required, like in the Crystal Room, and this is only in, pretty much it's the Crystal Room that's going to be the only difference. They already have good drapes around the whole thing. If we found that it's still letting in too much heat, we could put in a heavier fabric or something that would be better to stop any kind of heat coming in. But that's the majority of the windows that are covered are in that area. So I don't think we're going to have that issue there.
Okay.
Bill, when do you get started on this?
Well, I'd like to start getting it out to the engineers so that they can do some of the more technical drawings and stuff, and get us to the place where we can put it out on the street. I think with the stone and the stucco that we're doing, we have a really good chance of using local contractors to be able to come in and work with us on this, which I think would be great, that the community gets to be involved in it and be a part of the solution.
I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't be able to get someone local to be here. So yeah, I think that's important to not only me, but to the rest of this council, that we basically make sure we do all we can for that.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. We already gave that Phoenix bunch a try, so.
No, they can stay down in the
Just
heat.
try, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a long time coming, and yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. I am too.
I'd like to compliment whoever did the color scheme. I think it's very nice and will fit beautifully into our community.
Excellent. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 3B, Community Youth Outreach Presentation.
Welcome, Lieutenant Stubbins. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I appreciate this opportunity. Okay, so my presentation involves our youth outreach for the Prescott Valley Police Department. And I'm just really excited to be able to present this. These are a list of 10 that I'll be covering tonight with you. I've got a great picture slideshow for you. I'd like to thank several people before I get started. You know, Traces Gordon is our supervisor over Crime Prevention Unit. And she and her people do a phenomenal job day in and day out with crime prevention and all these community outreach activities. And then also I'd like to thank Casey Van Haren and her staff, because we work hand in hand in a lot of these activities. So,
They already left.
okay.
They're gone.
So I'd like to first touch off with badges and bobbers. I know, Mayor, you're probably intimately
I'm
familiar
pretty
with this.
familiar with this one, Lieutenant.
Founding fathers of this program. Basically what we do here is we team up first responders with kids who want to go fishing. And, you know, we take them by the hand, take them down to Fane Lake. Fishing game has already stocked the lake, so you have a pretty good opportunity to catch a good-sized trout and have fun. Some of these pictures are very indicative of the good times that kids have. They get a free lunch. They have opportunities for, I'm not sure what the limit is, but they have a great opportunity to catch fish.
We've also teamed this up recently with Gold Fever Days, I believe, as well, and I think we're going to continue with that. Is that correct, sir?
Yes. We had to skip this event because of COVID, but we're looking forward and starting to plan for this for next spring. We have a whole bunch of fishing poles and reels that have been donated to the police department for this activity. Lots of businesses have donated to support this, and we're very grateful. Cops and Kids, we were able to get this started again post-COVID. And this is basically an event that we go into the schools and eat and talk with the kids at lunchtime, sit down with them, and we give out stickers. Police officers and animal control officers get to relate with the kids and answer questions and just show them that we're real people. You know, this is, I think, a very important thing. Humboldt Unified has been really good to work with to allow us to come in and do this program. And we do this once a month, and it's rotated throughout all of the Humboldt Unified School District elementary schools. Extravaganza, this is not our program, but we participate in it. This is a great picture of someone enjoying the Easter egg hunt. Because of COVID, we had to modify it. Casey and her staff did a great job of putting it on despite COVID, and we were able to participate in that. Pet safety. James Reisinger was our animal control supervisor a few years back, and he created this program. And basically, we go into Humboldt Unified School District, the elementary schools, and we teach the third graders pet safety. There's so many times when kids want to go up and touch, pet a dog, and it's not safe. And there's a lot that they need to learn in order how to read the signs of an aggressive dog, how to ask the owner for permission. My 9-year-old recently got bit on the hand. He followed protocol. He went up to the owner and said, "I love your dog," with a little French bulldog. And he went down to pet it, and the owner had given permission, and he got bit on the hand. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. You know, he's recovered. But accidents happen like that. But hopefully less often because of this training. This will be starting up again in the fall, so we're looking forward to getting this started. Read Across America. Dr. Seuss Day. We every February we get to go into the schools again and read to the elementary kids. It's something that we all look forward to doing. First responders throughout the local community get to do this, and we pick a book suitable to the age that we're reading to, and they love it and we love it. So it's a great program. Shop with a Cop. This is another one that's been around for 25 years. Local law enforcement, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies get to spend $250 on a economically disadvantaged child who's been selected through the school districts. They identify children, and we have up to 125 kids, and they're paired up with law enforcement to go shop at the local Walmart. We alternate with Prescott, which Walmart we use, and it's really, you can see this is a great event, and we get to go lights and sirens with the kids in our cars, and we get there and shop and come back. They get a free breakfast out of the deal, and really nice program.
Lieutenant, I'd just like to add one thing, that we actually have an officer that currently works for us who, back in the day when he was a child, he was one of these children would shop with a cop, and then has since obviously grown up, and now he participates in it. So I think that's just an interesting little Snapple fact for everyone.
Yeah, over 25 years, we're going to see that more and more, I hope.
Yeah, that's
Let them become a police officer here in Prescott Valley. So, and I think that's about it. Touch a Truck. We have an opportunity for the kids to come up close and personal with a police car. We partner with CAFMA. They provide their fire trucks. We have SWAT vehicles, ambulances, and I think they've at times had helicopters come in, and the kids can get in and climb around and enjoy that. The Youth Academy is coming up July 12th through the 16th. This is another event that we're looking for homegrown kids to grow up and maybe come to work for Prescott Valley Police Department, and part of that is having an opportunity to teach them what we do. We give them a virtual shoot, don't shoot scenario. They get to actually see what it's actually like to have a bad guy with a gun shooting at you. And, if that doesn't scare them away, I don't know what will. But they really enjoy that. We also have DUI goggles. They wear these goggles, and then they get on these oversized tricycles, and they try to ride the tricycle with a sensation of being under the influence. And we also talk about use of force, what the criteria is for police to use force on people, constitutional law, things that they're going to need to know when and if they want to become a police officer in the future. Our cadet program, which is going to be coming up, I think you're going to get another briefing on the cadet program. We require them to go through this program. I want to recognize Jody Mullins, one of our crime prevention officers, for being the impetus behind this program. She's done a super job getting support from local businesses, donations being provided to help put this on. What else? They also get first aid certification, CPR certification, which is good for 2 years. It's a great program for ages 14 through 18. And the last slide I have is the bicycle safety rodeo. Another story that I have, the officers from around the local areas, we had Pike College police there to help. Jake Jackson, a former officer of ours, he's a certified bike trainer, and his crew, local bike stores, mechanics will come in and help tune up the bikes and make sure they're safety certified before they go out and do the course. But officers will teach bike safety to the kids and set up an obstacle course. It's really a neat program. I had my 9-year-old twins there. One of them decided to go off course and stray, and went over to the stadium or the stage area, and he crashed off of the stage. He didn't know there was a drop-off.
Lieutenant, sounds like you got to keep an eye on your kids.
I do. I happened to be fixing bicycles at the time. I took my eyes off him, and my kids, I tell you, I love them. But yeah, bicycle safety. It's even at a bicycle safety rodeo, it's not always safe.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant, I learned just the last couple days that our morning Early Bird Lions is a sponsor of this. And so I
Thanks for
thank
bringing
them
that up. I appreciate all our sponsors for this. Parks and Rec again. There's just so many people that really contribute to these worthy events, and we're very appreciative. We have a couple events that haven't occurred yet, but we're planning them. We have a Cops and Cones. We're going to try to get some of the local ice cream places to host an opportunity to eat ice cream with an officer. Pizza and the Polizia. That's another possible event that we're trying to get off the ground. So stay tuned.
Okay. Great job, Lieutenant.
Yeah. Any questions?
All right. Nicely done, sir. Moving on, item 3C, Town Finance Policy 4-11, PSPRS Pension Funding Policy. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Tonight I'm going to talk about our public safety personnel retirement system and the policy that we have associated with that. Every year, we bring this item before Council to basically review the policy and go over a few things in regard to it. Sorry, I have a lot of slides open here, I guess.
Don't blame everyone else before you that couldn't clean up.
Like I was saying, every year we do this and we need to come before council according to state law to formally accept the town's share of our policies, assets, and liabilities. And with that, currently our liabilities exceed our assets in the plan by about $11.3 million. So that is our unfunded liability. We have a policy in place to help offset this because we have to have this paid off by 2036. And we are putting money towards it every year to get to that goal. So we have a three-part kind of thing where we have a contribution stability is the first part of our policy, and part of that is the budgeting and remittance. So every year council looks at budgeting an excess contribution to put towards that unfunded liability and pay it down. In the fiscal year 21-22 budget, we have $2 million earmarked right now in the budget that'll be going before council next week to put straight towards that unfunded liability. Additionally, there's $1 million that we had originally suggested to pay down that policy that we put in contingency that council could decide during the year to allocate towards that unfunded liability or use for other purposes. We also remit the entire portion of the budgeted PSPRS contributions for town employees for the entire year in July, and then we draw against it during the year. The reason we do this is because the PSPRS system has a greater opportunity to invest in things that we wouldn't be able to invest in. So they're able to get a greater return on those dollars than we would if we kept it in our own accounts. So our funding requirement, like I said, we want to get it paid off by July 1st, 2030, which we are on track to do. That is ahead of the requirement date. However, we want to give ourselves some wiggle room there because there's a lot of factors that go into assessing what our unfunded liability is, and those can change every year depending on the amount of employees we have, their wages, if we have hires that came from other agencies in Arizona. It really depends on a lot of factors. Additionally, we as a town have not had very many retirees, and I'll get to that slide in a little bit to show you guys. And then our funded target ratio is the final component where we want to be 100% funded by that date. Currently, we are at 70.1% funded. We actually have gone up a few percent since last year's report. We were at 66.5 the prior year. So this next slide shows you the gray columns are the actual liability, unfunded liability. The blue are the projected. As you can see, we are expecting it to grow a little bit in the next year. That is due to those additional retirees as well as a smaller contribution in the current fiscal year towards the unfunded liability due to the uncertainties of COVID-19. And this graph just depicts, gray is our active employees paying into the system, and the blue are our retirees. And you can see part of the issue of why our unfunded liability grew so quickly was because our retirees also grew. We were a relatively new town, and then we started having more retirees get to that point. So now we are up significantly there, and we will continue to see that trend in the future. And with that, if anyone has any comments or questions on the policy or any of the actuarial report, I'm happy to address those.
Anything for Katie? Katie says a lot about Prescott Valley. I'm sure you can tell horror stories about other agencies or other towns throughout the state of Arizona that have a much lower funded liability, correct?
Correct. We are in a very good position. 11 million is a lot of money, but it is a very small amount compared to some of the other cities and towns.
Great. Thank you, ma'am.
And I'd like to thank our residents for shopping local so that we get sales tax to help with this unfunded liability.
Thank you.
All right, move on to item 3D, Capital Improvement Project Interactive Web Map. Mr. Brentis.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you for having me tonight. Turn this over. I just wanted to take this opportunity to showcase one of these web applications we recently developed for public and town staff, and to showcase a lot of the capital improvement projects that we have done and are going to be doing in the future. And what a better avenue to develop an interactive map for public to kind of browse around and see what we're doing. So anyway, as you are all aware that we come with the GIS division, we develop many maps and exhibits that you guys see on many different presentations. I know Norm showcases a lot of our work, and I appreciate that. But we do provide a lot of information that we can showcase on our projects. So without further ado, I'll kind of guide you with this process real quick. So on our town website, we have a link to our GIS program. And it's under our GIS page. Citizens can scroll to what we call interactive web maps. And we're going to be adding more applications to this as we go further down the road. But we do have some out there already. And the one I want to show you is our capital projects. So if you just click on this brings you, and hopefully you guys can see this, I'm not sure, but basically this brings you to a title summary sheet that tells you about what a CIP is, how it's funded, and how we use it here at the town. So it gives them a kind of a quick guideline of what to expect. And then as you look at the top, we have different tabs that you can click on. And before I start, I did have the ability to work with a lot of our supervisors, our directors, managers, to gain a lot of this information for projects that we were doing, so I could have the right information to throw out there. So, and that's constantly going as we keep moving. These are like a year or two projects, and in the next year I'll be looking at more to add to this and change it up, and it's just kind of a revolving door type of thing. So just to quickly, let's advance on the transportation projects. So what you see here is a overall map of the town, and over on the left is corresponding projects with numbers on the map. So you can kind of scroll down, and let's say we just look at cattle track pedestrian enhancements, number 3. So that would be item number 3 on the map. And if you're not sure, you can just click on this zoom, and it'll take you right to the location. And then on the left, on the bottom of that is a quick description of the project and how much we're spending. Okay. And they can also click on the map. They can also click the little red dot, and it'll kind of give them just a quick project name, project cost, and then timeline. So, and then they can always just refer back to the map, go back, and then kind of scroll down and look at some other ones. So they can just go through there. And then what we've done is we've either added a map, that exhibit that we've done for this project, or we'll show an actual photo of the project going on. And they can just click on it and zoom in the project, the map, whatever, the exhibit. So you can see we've kind of gone through some different ones. Viewpoint connector. This one was taken from one of our aerial drone pics. So we've been using the drone quite a bit for different projects, so it's been nice. And then again, that would be corresponding to item number 5 on the map, and so on. So you kind of get the picture of what we're doing with that. And if we move over to utility projects, I'll highlight some of those. And one of the big ones, obviously, is our Summit 2 tank that's being built and probably almost complete. So if we zoom to that, the same kind of zoom scale you can do with there, and you can also click on that. See, this was another drone pic. So as I talked about, each director kind of went with different projects, however many they wanted to showcase on this, and these are obviously the highlights, the big ones that we're spending money on. And then the Monk's Well, that's another big one. So they can just click there and go to Monk's Well and see what we're spending on that. Okay. And then if we move over to water resource projects, that was one. So that was per Munderloh. He just had one that he wanted to showcase, so that's fine. And then, of course, parks is our obviously big component. So again, we have starting off with Antelope Park. And it was kind of neat the way I did the map. Sometimes I just started with 1 and just worked my way downtown and 2, 3, 4 in consecutive order. But Antelope Park, it kind of shows you, and I didn't have any real-time pictures, obviously, but just to kind of show them, hey, we're doing some pickleball courts and a splash pad of some sort up there and what we're spending on it, that type of thing. And obviously Bob Edwards was a big one. And then Bill wanted us to throw in there the library improvements that we just talked about, so that would be on there. So what we're spending on that as well. So again, it's all interactive. You can go to the map, you can go to the list, whatever you want to do. And we just thought it'd be kind of a nice, easy directory for citizens to kind of look at. And we're not hiding anything. It's all out there. We're just trying to make it easy access for them. So, and then if they want, over on the top right-hand side, there's a link back to our Prescott Valley homepage. They can share it on Facebook, Twitter, social media type thing. They can share this content. So. Anyway, like I said, it's a project that'll keep evolving, and as we get more projects, we'll add them to here, remove ones, and just kind of keep it fresh. So that's about it. It's pretty simple.
Larry, I just want to say this is amazing. Like, this is awesome right here. Like, and the citizens, this is something that people just want to know what's going on. We direct them right to this. This is incredible. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and there's at the main page, the title summary, there is I didn't scroll to the bottom, but this will link them back to our capital projects area of our town homepage, so if they wanted to go through the book and look at our capital projects, they could. This is kind of a simple snapshot of it. But I appreciate you letting me show this to you tonight.
Just one quick question. So they can go to our website for the town of Prescott Valley, and then this is a GIS page with
Yes.
links? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I did see the address up above where it's topvgis.maps.gov.
Yeah, so the nice thing about it is that when you click on this capital project CIP, it just opens up a new tab,
Okay.
which is real nice. So they can just close the tab out and go back to the Prescott Valley homepage.
Very nice. Thank you.
So, yeah. Any questions else?
Awesome, sir. Thank you.
Guys.
Move on, item 3E, agreement, CH2M OMI, Jacobs, utility operations, maintenance and management services. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our annual time we always come before you just prior to the annual contract approval for Jacobs, or CH2M Hill OMI as the official contract name is called. And so tonight we've got two presentations for you. The first one will be from Jacobs directly, and they're going to talk about what they do and refresh your memory, refresh our citizens' memory of who they are and what they do. And then I'll give you a brief overview of where we are on the contract negotiations, which we will bring back to you next week for approval. And so I'd like to introduce Aaron Richardson, who is the project director for Jacobs, and turn it over to him for his presentation.
Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you. Good evening. Appreciate the time tonight. I'll try and keep it short and sweet for you. Just go through a few things, go through some of our safety culture with Jacobs, take you through kind of a culture of caring moment, take you through some of our efficient and effective operations, some of the operational highlights, some of the things we're doing in the community, some feedback we've gotten from some of the town citizens, and then some of the regional support that we have within Jacobs that we leverage. Talking about our safety culture, this is something I was really proud of. This year marked 3 years without a recordable incident. Our guys out there have a lot of exposure. We do a lot of dangerous stuff, and to make it that long without a recordable incident was a pretty big accomplishment. Over 175,000 hours. And we actually received a significant milestone award internally from Jacobs for those efforts. So pretty proud of that. A big thing that goes into that, and part of that success, I believe, is our guys, anytime they're doing a job, they do what they call pre-task plan, go through all the plan for the work, and just make sure we're doing it the right way, the safe way. They've completed over 7,500 of those over the last 3 years. And then on top of that, the leadership team, including myself, we try to be in the field as much as possible, visiting with the guys, doing safety observations, and we completed over 600 of those over the last few years. And then, just to highlight some of the other training we do, the basic confined space, arc flash training, things like that. And one thing I appreciate about Jacobs is they do put a pretty big emphasis on diversity and inclusion, and also mental health, which has really impacted a handful of people with the company. Culture of caring moment. As I mentioned, we have a lot of exposure out there. You guys, everybody's probably aware that a lot of our trenches where we're working are a shared trench, meaning they could have, cable, phone lines, and in some cases, electrical lines, live electrical lines. Quite often, these guys are digging in a trench, and the power line is literally inches away from the water line that we're trying to repair, and that's not a good combination. So in order to help these guys out, we invested in a hydro excavator this past year, and that's really helped the distribution team out there to pothole ahead of time, so we can kind of identify those hazardous areas before we stick a shovel in the ground and have those exposures. On top of the safety piece, it's really helped with the efficiency when we're out there doing some excavation. So. Going into some efficiencies of our team, as you are all aware, this town is growing pretty rapidly. Over the past 6 years, we've seen about a 16% increase in customer service connections, and over that time, we've only added 1 FTE full-time employee over those 6 years. So we're continuing to have a high level of service with the same amount of people just about on the project. And another thing I'm proud of is our average tenure. This is a pretty high turnover industry. Our average tenure for our team is over 5 years on the project. So we've got some long-term employees and got people that really enjoy working for Jacobs and being in the town of Prescott Valley. So that's how we kind of compare against ourselves in the town growth. This is kind of a representation of American Water Works Association. AWWA does a benchmarking study every 3 years. They come out with some numbers. It is voluntary, so this isn't representative of every municipality in the country, but for who does submit, you can kind of see where we stand pretty far ahead as far as efficiency goes for people or customer counts per employee. And this is on the water side, and then it's pretty much the same story on the wastewater side. So against some other folks in the industry, we're definitely doing well. Here's just a few of the operational highlights, some of the capital projects that are, we assist with a handful of capital projects throughout the year. You can read a few of these. One that we're particularly proud of is the Agua Fria sub-basin recovery. I know that's a hot topic, having enough water around here, and I've heard quite a bit of conversation around that. With the addition of some of these wells that we've added over the last few years, we've had the ability to rest certain basins, and in particular the Agua Fria sub-basin, it has recovered 160 feet since 2018 and is actually 40 feet higher than it was in the year 2000. So that's a joint effort between our team, our water treatment team, and of course, Neil and Scott and the utilities team. And also, Jacobs won a worldwide award for our efforts in the well usage operational strategies this past year as well. So that was recognized across all of OMFS with Jacobs. Community involvement, we always try to be one of the top sponsors for the parade. That continued this past year. I was happy we were able to do that with everything going on with COVID. And also this year we got involved with the Community Counts Kinship Program, and that was something that kind of surprised me, that 63% of the children in the Yavapai region live with a grandparent. That was very surprising to me. It can be very challenging, especially with what's going on with COVID. So, through this program, they offer, education, medical resources, foster care resources, support groups, things of that nature. And we were able to help impact 250 kinship family members this year with our involvement with that program. A lot of times when people are calling into the town, they are not happy.
We're well aware of that.
I figured you were. But I'm very proud of our team. We're out there every day dealing with customers, and as I mentioned, generally if they're talking to us, they're not happy because their water's off or water's running down the road or in their yard or something. So we have a very professional team that does really good dealing with the community, and in fact, we probably average every month or so we're getting some kind of email or phone call or something commending our efforts out there in the field with the community. So there's just a handful of those. I won't read into every one of those. And then on the last slide, I talked about some of our regional resources, and that's a big part of our success with Jacobs, is we do have a lot of back reach when it comes to resources. On the left here, these are just a few examples. These 6 examples are what we actually used this year. We used a handful of regional support, and a couple of them were pretty big lifesavers. It's tough to find. We were looking for a wastewater supervisor. That's a difficult position to find, period, to find somebody experienced enough to come in and run a wastewater treatment plant, especially in a kind of smaller community like Prescott Valley. It's tough to get a lot of applicants for a position like that. So while we were looking for that candidate, we were able to bring in a 30-plus year subject matter expert on wastewater out of Florida, comes in and helped us out to kind of keep things rolling at the wastewater treatment plant, make sure things were running smoothly until we could get that supervisor in, which we did, and he's doing an outstanding job. Ran into the same situation with our maintenance. We lost a long-term maintenance lead along with a maintenance technician. We were kind of in a tough spot, and we were able to reach out to our folks in the region and have a couple regional maintenance folks come out and kind of hold it down until we were able to backfill those positions as well. And then we've utilized a couple of these. Were for some of the capital projects, compliance things related to wells, things of that nature. So yeah, quite the back reach there on the regional support.
Hey, real quick, what's the connection with Bisbee? Why do we got a star Bisbee on your map?
Yeah, because this is probably a map that I stole from a Bisbee presentation. That's probably why.
Like, why can't there be a Prescott Valley star? Why can't you?
That's funny you said that, because Neil doesn't miss anything, and he actually mentioned that to me today, and I was like, they probably won't look too closely at that map. We'll probably be all right. So should have listened to Neil on that one. Yeah, and that's what I have. So like I said, I appreciate the time and appreciate you guys' belief and support over the years. And we're going into contract year 29 this next year, so that's great. It's outstanding.
Council, we have anything for Aaron? Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to bring up Aaron before you did. I want to thank you. It was so refreshing. You guys are truly a part of our staff, And it was so refreshing to see you all in the parade and have your staff there and committed, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we feel that way. We work, closely every single day with Neil and Scott, and we do. We feel like we're part of the team out here, so.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Neil, you wrapping this up with us?
Yes, I get to go over the really exciting stuff, like, numbers and things like that.
Oh, I didn't say that.
I'm sure you're all just looking forward to that, aren't you? All right, so I do want to thank Jacobs, and as you are aware, we've had a relationship with them and their former company names and so forth since 1993. So this is a very long relationship that we've had with them. And, there have been some ups and downs, but we do work together very well, and we get through those things, and we keep moving forward. And so it's been a very effective team. But obviously every year we do sit down and we talk about, okay, what types of things are we going to add to the scope of work or not add or take away or whatever, and then what is the compensation? And so we sit down annually to do that, even though we have right now a 5-year contract with them that will come up and we'll renegotiate then. But every year we talk about, okay, are you going to get more compensation? Are you going to get less? Or what are we going to do? So that's why we're here this evening, and I wanted to do a quick rundown on this so that we don't have to talk about this next week during the other regular council meeting. And actually, I just went through all of this. So there you go. So we're working on amendment number 2 right now, and we're looking at about a 3.5, it's actually 3.55% base fee increase for them for this year, which will cover the normal inflation, cost of things going up in value. And also we are adding another item to their scope of services, which is related to industrial pretreatment program. So they're going to be taking on that this year as well. And we've also added some additional dollars for doing the biosolids. So looking at just the base fees, here are across the 4 different utilities that they're operating for us. Here's what the increase is for each one of those. So on a $3.9 million contract, it's about $141,000 increase, which is the 3.55%. In addition, we pay extra for reimbursable items. So these are things where they're fixing stuff and they'll provide the labor to do the repairs, but the actual cost of replacing a motor or whatever, we're paying for that. And so these are the budgetary items that you've seen for water repairs, wastewater repairs. The biosolids disposal is a big one, $425,000. Buying water meters, we pay for those. The base fees basically cover their labor and administration and kind of just the normal operating costs, not any of these other additional things that are difficult to know what they're going to be from year to year. Okay, so and then in addition to that, we do out of scope items, which are bigger projects that we don't know from year to year what they might be. We look at them at the beginning of the year and we negotiate those. They're bigger projects, but they're things that they have the expertise to do, and that it's within the realm of the water and the wastewater type stuff. And so the list of those, we're looking at about $340,000 on the wastewater side. We're going to do some lift station rehab, manhole rehab. There's some SCADA work. Then on the water side, we're doing some additional things on there with the Granville Booster Station. We're adding a variable frequency drive at the Fat Chance well, which is the largest well that we have. For any of you that don't know what a variable frequency drive is, when we turn that pump on and it's pumping 2,400 gallons a minute, full blast out of the ground, that might be too much. The variable frequency drive actually lets us slow the motor down. We could slow it down so we're only pumping 1,500 gallons a minute and so forth. Right now it's either fully on or fully off. So we're adding that to help us with managing our well field and our tanks. And there's some other items on here that you've probably already read all this, so If you have any questions at the end, I can go over them. But with all of these items, the contract value is around $7.5 million. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Vice Mayor?
I have a tiny question. So on that graph where you were showing back. Oh, wait, forward. There. So water meters, 410,000. So are those residential water meters?
They are residential and commercials, so that's our budget amount for water meters. And
so my question is, when finance was up here, they said that 70% of our meters were ready to go with our water portal system. And so about 30% needed to be updated, but not the whole meter, just a little mechanism inside.
Just the transmitter.
Right.
Correct. So one of the items in here, and I'll back up to this one in a minute. So down here at the bottom, the second line up from the bottom, it says FlexNet transmitters,
yes, okay.
$45,000. So we are going to pay them as an additional service, $45,000. That's labor only, and they are going to start installing all of the transmitters that we're going to buy. We have a budgetary line item that's not even included in this contract that we are going to buy those transmitters, and we're going to pay, I can't remember what the number is this year, but like around $300,000 to buy the transmitters. We're going to pay them $40,000 to do that installation work, which is outside of what they normally do as part of their contract. So we could bump their base fees up and cover it all, but it's easier for us to keep track of those things as a separate project.
So awesome. So we're going to get closer to that 100% of all of our residents that are on water portal systems so that we can save more water.
Correct, and we're anticipating a 2 to 3 year build out on completing all of those remaining transmitters. I believe there's about 6,000 or 7,000 of the meters out there that don't have the right transmitter on them, and those are the ones that we're changing out.
Right, and kudos to you guys for planning ahead and putting in the right meters, that all we have to do is replace the transmitter, and we're light years ahead of other communities doing that.
I'll let you say that. I won't say that.
So, and then my final question, that 410,000 for meters for commercial and residential, is that all new?
That's mostly new meters. Some of them are replacements. And so I think as part of the work that we're doing this year, we're actually looking at replacing maybe about 20 of the commercial meters that might be 15 years old, because as we get older in age on those, the meters slow down, and so we're not collecting as much revenue. So about every 15 years or so, we should be replacing those. So a number of those meters we are replacing, but the majority of them are for new meter installs.
And so a lot of that $7 million comes from developer impact fees.
The $7 million contract under here?
Yes.
No. Well, we'd have to go back and look at it. The base fees come out of our operating funds.
Okay.
The projects could come out of either operating funds or the capacity fee funds, depending on whether it's a growth-related type of a project or if it's like what we would do under normal operations. Whether we had growth or not, would we be repairing manholes and things? Yes, we would. So those come out of our operating fees, the monthly fees that people pay in. Anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I tease this man just for a minute?
Okay.
Don't let him.
Remember, we've talked in the past about getting rid of the word out of scope.
We call it additional services, but yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah, and the reason we fuss about that is that one of the things we worry about is, do we have to bid these things separately? And so we don't want to think of these as out of scope. They're in scope, they just aren't identified yet, and so there'll be additional services. So if you would make sure when you do show this again that it doesn't include the word out of scope, we'd appreciate that.
Next year at this time, I will absolutely remember not to use the old presentation.
All right, we're good then. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
All right, folks, hey, thanks for coming out. Have a great night. Go Prescott Valley. Oh, Ryan, you have something.
No, there's one more item, I believe.
Oh, why am I not looking at it?
3F.
Oh, I apologize. Thanks, Ryan. Neil, here you go. Reimbursement agreement, Granville unit.
Okay, so what you'll be hopefully approving next week is going to be a reimbursement agreement that we have put forward to you with Granville, and this is related to what we call the Section 2 sewer line upsizing project. The graphic in front of you summarizes what that is, and what we have is we have a 12-inch water or sewer line that runs diagonally through, this is Section 2 up there east of Glassford Hill Road and north of Unit 19. And that sewer line needs to be either upsized, or what we're proposing to do is put in a parallel 18-inch water line. But we were planning on doing that a couple years from now. And but we learned that Granville was getting ready to construct Unit 15, which is down in the lower left-hand corner, just south of the Granville Elementary School. And as part of their work, they are doing improvements along the Santa Fe Loop Road, asphalt and some curb and gutter and things like that. Well, the sewer line that we were going to be putting in a couple years from now is under all that. We don't want to put that in 2 years from now and dig up everything that they've just improved. So as part of the agreement with them, they will install that section of the new sewer line, and then we're going to pay them back for it. And then in a year or two, when we do the remainder, we'll just tie onto the end and keep going forward. And you can, the red dotted line shows the future parallel line next to the existing green sewer line. And you'll notice up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a section that's solid green. That's already been put in and was put in as part of the Viewpoint Connector Road project. So we'll tie onto that, and then we'll continue to the north and make the tie-in in the northwest corner. In here it says that this project may cost up to $120,000 for the agreement. That number was put in as a placeholder based on an initial estimate from Granville, but it's looking like that number is going to be much less than that. They're actually getting quotes at this time, and it's looking like it might be closer to $50,000 or $60,000. And as long as we're less than the regulatory limit of $246,000, they can do this work without bidding it. So essentially they're going to go out, they're going to get their contractors to look at it, they'll get pricing, and they're going to select whichever contract gives them the best price overall for them, because they're trying to make money on that work as well, not have to pay too much out of pocket. And so we've worked with Joe Contadino on a lot of different projects, and they usually deliver pretty good pricing.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Council, have anything else for Neil? All right. Mr. Judy, are we good? All right. Thanks for coming out, everyone.